Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Agile Lightning Talk. A quick introduction. My name is Chala Musau, and by trade, I'm both a consultant and an Agile coach with vast experience working in both the federal and the private sectors and working with organizations such as Deloitte, BCG, and a few other smaller contracting firms within the DC area. Today's topic, which is your organization tracking schedules or values, is something that's inspired by actual events, and I believe this is something that will resonate with a lot of you. So to quickly frame the backdrop of this topic, while being staffed on a federal contract, towards the tail end of the project, the federal PM decided to halt the project. Now, the key reason for doing this was because the project schedule had not been updated, or it needed to be updated to reflect additional work that had not been initially planned for. Now, for those of you who've worked with project schedules, especially in the federal space, you'll understand that making major adjustments to the schedule after the dates have been communicated, especially to senior leadership, is a very painful process. But then this inspired this thought. After working in a lot of agile environments and also as an agile coach, watching this happen, the question became, what are we truly concerned by? What are we truly tracking? Are we tracking dates and schedules and milestones, or should we be focusing more so on the value that's going to be delivered? So this additional work that needed to be done, was it of value add? Absolutely. Did it mean changing the dates? Absolutely. But this became an issue for the client. Hence what inspired this topic. In every project, project planning is essential. And one of the key artifacts that you create from this exercise is the Gantt chart. And this can either be in the form of a project schedule, or if you're working in an agile environment, this will be your product roadmap. Now, although conceptually similar, the implementation tends to focus on different attributes. So let us compare project schedules to product roadmaps. Your project schedules tends to be a lot more detailed and complex, whereby the roadmap is a lighter version of that, the key focus being either the features, capabilities, or generally the value that's going to be delivered and when you anticipate to deliver it. It just provides that guiding light. Project schedules, you're required to identify your tasks and milestones as best as you can upfront, and you also commit to those dates, which becomes a little bit of an issue when you start having to make changes, right? And in project schedules, changes are frowned upon, versus the product roadmap in an agile environment whereby change is actually welcome, and the team is the one that's going to be responsible in identifying the user stories and the subsequent tasks, and you want to commit that as late as possible. And this is normally during sprint planning, when you identify your top priorities and what is going to go into your sprint backlog. And also in project, and finally, the project schedule, you tend to measure progress per task completed and the adherence to the initial schedule, right? The initial dates identified. So the primary focus is on time, whereby in product roadmaps, progress is measured by working software. So you're really, the primary focus is value being delivered to the users and the stakeholders. So reflecting on the opening example, the accuracy of the project schedule seemed to overshadow the value being created by the team, which is the why. So what best practices should be embodied when planning? And we can look at what's already provided in the Agile values and principles. And these are the things that will help you better manage your projects. So value number 2 is working software over comprehensive documentation. Do not stop a project because you don't have comprehensive documentation. Put more emphasis on the working software. Principle number 7 is working software is the primary measure of progress. So having tasks, milestone, and dates is very important. But the key measure of progress should really be the working software. You should also be flexible to welcome change in requirements and defer commitment or decide as late as possible, rather than committing to dates at the start of the project. Try and do this iteratively and as late as possible, whereby you have better context and information before you can lock something down. By following these four bullet points, you can have a better handle uh, and better outcomes in your planning process. So, does implementing Agile automatically mean that we're focused on value? There are certain steps that an organization can deliberately take to make sure that there's that consistency, there's that transparency, and there's that cohesiveness in the understanding of value. That means that the vision that is being set by organization's leadership needs to be communicated all the way down to the delivery team members, right? That way you can make sure there's a good tie between the vision, the goals, the capabilities, user stories, all the way down to the tasks. So as an individual, I can answer the question as to why am I working on this user story? Why am I executing this task? And how does that tie to the big picture? Peter Drucker is credited for saying, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. And what this means to an organization is that have an understanding of what your metrics are and what your KPIs are. Identify metrics that truly do matter and take this smart approach. So it has to be something that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and also time bound, right? And make sure that these KPIs are being communicated across the organization. They're actually being used and they're actually being reported on, hence that there's that transparency. By having a clear definition and measure of value, an organization can subsequently shift its focus to the true value drivers. Thanks for taking 5 minutes to listen to my lightning talk today, and I hope everybody's getting a lot out of this conference. Thanks.